Right, Neil, thanks for your time as always, appreciate it. We'll start with the County Cup game last night. Your first team has got a few minutes out there. What was your take on it?
I think it's important, first of all, obviously Scotty Barrow really needed to get that game under his belt for his own confidence, his own belief. He's trained for a long period of time now, just trying to get his body back to where he wanted it to get through 90 minutes was massive for him, so it's great that he has. And that can be the beginning, hopefully, of him kicking on. But for the other players, it's minutes. Mitch Hancock hasn't played or started a game for a while. Thierry's come back and he's had a week, 10 days worth of work with the physio, and then joined in training. So it was important he got some minutes under his belts, and the same with Andrew, who hasn't started that many games in the last certain period of time. So for me, it's good because it just gets them all to a place, regardless of the quality of the pitch or competition. It gets them all to a place, confidence-wise, mentally, where they've all had some game time.
So with Thierry, then, how close is he to a return to the first team?
Well, he's played 90 minutes now, so that puts him in a better spot. I still think we need to get some. If you look at all the games he started for us, I think he's come off in nearly every one, whether it's been with a slight niggle or an injury or something, he's come off. So we need to get that robustness and that fitness as high as we possibly can to push, as we do with all the players.
You mentioned Scott Barrow there. How is he doing after that 90?
I'm sure he'll be a little bit stiff, particularly on a heavy pitch. But again, it was all about just them minutes and what that does mentally for him.
In terms of other team news for the weekend, how's Dippo getting on?
He's joined in today, but that was his first day. So he's been out just over 2 weeks now, and he's trained today. He's done a little bit of work with the physio over the course of the start of the week and some straight line stuff, and then built it steadily up, and he's been given the go ahead to join in training today. So fingers crossed we have no reaction to training today, and we go from there. But obviously I've got a decision to make. When you've had 2 weeks off and you haven't really done that much work as far as physical running, I've got a choice to make as to what I do with him and whether I look after him, etc.
How big a boost is that, though, to have him back involved like that?
Massive. I think anyone that watched us play this season know how important he is, and Dan Batty is in midfield, is another good player, and to not have him available for 2.5 weeks, you can see that the team not struggled, but it's been a lot tougher for the team without two good players. So Dan's probably going to be possibly another 10 days to 2 weeks with his, but certainly having Depot back with his goals and his assists and his pace and his power is going to be a massive plus. And I've just got to make sure I make the right decision about where we get him to and when we use him fully.
Any new concerns though coming into this one?
Scotty Burgess was ill, phoned in, he'd been sick during the night, so he was ill this morning, so he didn't train, so that's probably the only major concern. We've had a couple that have had little niggles that have joined in training today, so other than that, David Stockdale's been back in training for the week, so he's had a good 4 weeks training, so that's been good for us as well. So other than that, I think there's no new news on any of the other injuries that we've had coming back.
Also the news now, we know that Ryan Whitley has left the club, but he's joined Scarborough now as well, so how happy are you for him in that regard? Yeah,
it's one of them, I made the judgment call that I felt, and I told you before, I did all my homework on George Sykes-Kenworthy, and we felt that he would be a really good signing for the club going forward. And then all of a sudden you've got 5 goalies. David Stockdale's now back training with the squad now and doing well, and I've put Rory in ahead of Ryan over the last few weeks. So there comes a point when the player, rightly so, comes and knocks on the door and says, where am I in your plans? And you have honest conversations. And I always say, if I feel like somebody's better off going and getting his game time somewhere else, we'll have that conversation. And it's not, I don't think it's any one player being made a scapegoat. It's just an evolution of trying to improve the squad. And sometimes there's players that will look and go, and fair play to Ryan, look and go, I want to play. And therefore you go, okay, well, let's help you do that, let's get that in motion. And other times you get players who you bring offers to them so that they can go and play, and they don't want it. They'd rather not play and take their money. So I've had all experiences in my time, but fair play to Ryan, he wanted to play, and we've helped facilitate that. We've still got 4 goalies on our books, and Ryan gets to go and play, so it works for all parties.
Looking ahead to this Chester game then, how much has that last gasp equaliser given everyone a bit of a spring and their step ahead of this one?
Obviously it gives a slightly better feeling than 3 losses on the bounce in the league. And it sent the fans home, I wouldn't say ecstatic, it sent them home in a slightly better place than they would have been. I think we've got a plan behind the scenes with the owner, myself, the staff. We've got a new data analysis for our recruitment that starts properly next week, but we've had a couple of meetings and conversations with him. We've set a plan in place as to what we think we need to do, and we're all on board with it. This FA Cup game wasn't one we was going to try and rush to bring players in, do our recruitment and bring players in, because a lot of people would be cup tied anyway. So we're trying to spend this week going into the cup game and sort of the beginning of the next week, where we do our work and try and see if we can add to what we've got in balancing the team out. So we're excited. It's the FA Cup. But we will be going with what we've got.
Yeah, first round proper now off the competition. How exciting is that for you as a manager to be involved?
Yeah, I just think it's the early rounds are the ones where as we know, we managed to limp ourselves through the 4th qualifying game. If we can go and put in a good performance and get a good result, all of a sudden you're in the 2nd round, the draw comes out, and then you're a game away from something that might be really, really exciting, and that's where it all sorts of dawns on you that, hold on, we could be in the hat for the 3rd round, and I've been in that hat for the 3rd round, and it's pretty special, whether it's that Monday afternoon or Monday evening. It's pretty special watching the draw, just thinking that you could get that tie that really sets everything alight.
I suppose you, as former Wimbledon man and plenty of Wimbledon connections, will know how special the FA Cup can be. Yeah,
I was an apprentice at Wimbledon when they won the final, or just about to become an apprentice when they won in '88, and what that did for the place was incredible. I've had a couple of good cup runs. We played Liverpool live on telly in the 3rd round when I was at AFC Wimbledon as manager. We played Spurs at Wembley when they had their season of playing at Wembley. So getting to the 3rd round was a really good experience.
1988, did you go?
No, my dad stole my ticket. We didn't steal it, I had to give it to him, but we only got given 1 ticket, and my dad's friends were going, so I gave it to my dad.
Have you reminded him of that ever since?
Yeah, I have done. He hasn't paid me back, so we'll have to get on with that.
As far as a group of players, though, you saw what they did with the Crazy Gang in 1988. What can a cup run do for a group of players?
I think the cup run's brilliant. I think if you go through, if you start to edge into, if you can get to a 2nd round and you can win the 2nd round, you then have the whole of December going into what normally is a busy period going into Christmas. But at the other end, and I've had it where when I had it at Wimbledon, the 2 times we got to the 3rd round, our form in December was excellent because players were at it. They were looking forward to that game, but they focused on the league. It brings a really good feeling around the place, a buzz, and more so for our fans. They've had a tough time, whether it be last season, the back end, the start of this season. They haven't had a lot of things to shout about at the moment, and if they had the excitement of an FA Cup draw alongside us making progress in our league campaign, that would be great for them as well.
So it's Chester that you're up against away from home. What's your take on them?
Really good. I think they started the season a little bit, probably from their point of view, they didn't get the results they wanted, although the performances were probably quite good, and they've gone on, I don't know whether they're 5 games now, I think they've won 5 on the bounce, tweaked their shape slightly, they've found something that started to work for them, and confidence has built from that. So all of a sudden you've got a team very confident, not conceding a lot of goals and starting to create more chances. They've tweaked the shape, it's started to work for them, they've got a lot of belief in it, and that's a dangerous animal. So if we was in the place where I wanted us to be and we was at the top of our league and pushing for promotion, you could go in, almost thinking, well, we're a league above and we're at the top, but we're not. We're a team that you look at and go, the game will probably be very even as far as, even though we're a league above, they're in great form, and some people might even make them favourites given they're at home.
So with all those elements combined, then what's key for your side then to get something from it?
I think we've got to do a lot of things better. I think, if I go back to the first half at Chesterfield and the performance without the ball against Halifax, there was positives there. We weren't an easy team to play against. But I think with the ball at the moment, it's our biggest issue. I don't think the quality in the decision making and the speed that we attack with has been good enough. We've tried to work on some of that as well. We just need to. I don't think we've really put in a 90 minutes. I don't think we've really, in any way, with and without the ball. And we need to start trying to put together more complete performances in both aspects. I couldn't say there's any one thing we need to work on, because I think we need to work on a hell of a lot, and that's whether it's fitness, which we're doing, trying to create robust players, which we're trying to put in place. We've got new staff joining next week, which hopefully will kick us on again and put us on that upward trajectory. Loads to do.
Just finally, it's been a while since York could make the second round. I think it was 2010 the last time they made it that far. So what would it mean to create a bit of history in that sense?
It would be good, because the more I look back and the more I hear from people, the fans haven't had the easiest ride here, and yet I've made comments about how good they've been, and they've cheered us, and they've really got behind us, and they haven't, I think they haven't showed their frustrations. They know where we've struggled, and we're trying to come out of it, and they've tried to facilitate that and get behind us. So if we can do something, like I just said, that for 20, 13 years they haven't had this sort of feeling. If we can do something in the FA Cup that keeps it alive and gives them that feeling, then it would be great, because they deserve it.
Thank you, Neil.
Now, talking about last night, North Riding Cup, lovely interview with Scott Barrow afterwards, very emotional. Was there like a swell of support from all the players around him?
I think so. I think we talked to Scotty. There was some clubs interested in Scotty earlier on in this season, and we talked to him about whether he wanted to take it, and he just felt for his own sort of belief and confidence he needed the 90 minutes. So we tried to arrange a game for him about 3 weeks ago, and then we started to get a glut of injuries, and all of a sudden we realised we couldn't even field a team to play in this game. So we had to cancel it, and then this Cup's game come up, and we wanted Scotty to get game time, but there was a few others as well, and we wanted to make sure that, if you throw Scott Barron in with all the younger players, it's going to be tough. So we wanted to make sure that we put a team together that could have a go and be competitive. So it's great for him that 17 months I think it is that he's been sort of trying to fight to get back, and that shows the character. Some people can give up. It's tough. He's kept going, and hopefully he'll come away, although it might be a bit sore muscle wise, he'll come away with a really good feeling about the fact that he's got through that 90 minutes.
Currently at the moment, obviously, the situation with your city is very challenging. The consensus is you're the person to turn it around. What reference points can you go back to in your managerial career and just say, yeah, I was here before, I've done this before, I've seen it before?
My first senior management role at AFC Wimbledon, literally bottom of the league. The team really struggling for confidence, belief, and the first 3-4 months were really tough. We stayed bottom, we didn't win games, and I remember turning around to the CEO and I said, there's every chance we'll be bottom at Christmas. I haven't said that, by the way, here, but my point was I kind of knew that the team wasn't just going to snap out of it. And back then we only had a January transfer window, but we went and we did the best window we could within the budget. And on New Year's Eve, I remember saying to one of the directors that we needed playoff form to stay up. And I think I saw his face drop at that point, but it did. And from the New Year's Day onwards, we had, I think we finished 8th in the league, and we stayed up in the last day of the season. It took us that long. So I've been in this experience. I've also been in it with Notts County, where there was lots of other issues and it didn't quite happen. I learned a lot from that experience. But whenever I get frustrated with some of the challenges or some of the things that are going on, I try and take a little step back and look at the bigger picture, which is these next 6 months, when I signed up, these next 6-7 months, whatever they're going to be, were always going to be really tough. And it was all about trying to stabilise, progress, stay in the league, and then grow. And I know I can certainly do the bit where it comes to growing and putting together a really good team to go out and take us in the other direction. But the most challenging bit is the next 6 months.
And when you're looking obviously at the playbook and the way you structure the side, how much of it is psychological when you're in a rut as well for those players?
Yeah, I've always said that the only thing that really truly makes players feel confident, feel like they've got momentum, go out on that pitch is winning games. So, you know, a manager, I can put my arm around people, I can encourage them, I can show them how to win this game, show them what the opposition can do, give them the best chance. But it's only winning games that really triggers that off. So my process is to give us the best chance of winning games, and obviously having, whatever we've had, 9, 10, 11 injuries doesn't help because the competitive edge of the squad, that, you know, people can be in the squad just by default rather than being in the squad because they're training well and they're earning it and they're pushing the players in the starting lineup. And I think we've been there a little bit over the course of the last, certainly up till now, the last few weeks. So we want all of them things to come back. Hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 injuries back. Hopefully we'll bring 1 or 2 in. Things change and momentum can kick on, and that psychology side of things kicks in. And
you're talking about injuries, being blighted by injuries. What size of squad have you got to pick for the FA Cup on Saturday?
I think it's 9 subs. I'm not even sure we'll be able to field that, and it's crazy because when you look at the squad size of players we've got, whether some are out on loan or not, you know, 36, 37 players, whatever it is, it's ridiculous. But we've obviously got people out on loan and we've got injuries. Yeah, I don't know until I see if people with illnesses are back tomorrow and people have got through training today are fine. But yeah, there's lots that we know isn't right. There's lots we know isn't sort of where it needs to be. But we just got to accept that for now and keep trying to work through it.
Stockdale, he's back in training. Any idea when he might be available again?
No. Yeah, he's been doing progressive stuff over the last probably 2.5 weeks, building up to full training this week. I'm sure he's probably only 80% of where he wants to be, but obviously as you get a bit older it takes a little bit longer. But you know, George will be cup tied for the game, so David and Rory will be challenging for the number 1 spot really in my eyes.
Big game on Saturday against a side, I think 6 wins on the bounce, so they're on a roll. How do you approach that with a club on a roll, but they're a division below still?
I think you've got to show them the respect they deserve, and I think I have to look at my team. You know, if my team was 3rd, 4th in our league and flying, you go in with a little bit more. If we're at it, they shouldn't be able to cope with us. I don't think that's the case. I think we're obviously, as we all know, a team trying to, you know, manage our way through a period and add to the squad and the imbalances. They're a team that have managed to get themselves on a roll and start to hit really good form. That counts for everything. They're at home. I think we have to approach the game, you know, not like we're underdogs, but almost absolutely show them the respect. And it's a cup tie. We've got to make sure we match everything they can do in energy and effort and intensity. And then, you know, we've got to show more quality than we have done because they're certainly showing that at the moment.
Worst case scenario, would you take a draw and a replay,
or
does that get in the way?
No replay, please.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to replay. We don't want to replay. I think this week's been only the 3rd week we've had a free week of training without games, and I've been here 8, I think, nearly now. So I really wouldn't want to replay. I'd want to replay if it was between that and losing for sure. But you know, we want to try and go and win the game and get through to the next round. If it ends up being a replay, so be it. We have to dust ourselves down.
They talk about the magic of the cup. Can it get in the way though?
I don't believe so. I think at the moment we're not used to winning games of football regularly. So when you're like that, we've got to find a way to win games of football to give us the belief that we can, and then try and take that into our league form. I think the other way around doesn't work for us in our current situation.
Thanks very much.
Neil, just the last thing on the North Riding Senior Cup. How disappointed are you to be exiting the competition, or is it not really top of your priorities?
No, it was. As soon as, you know, I've had it when I was a Solihull manager and Wimbledon manager. There's different competitions that you go in, and when you've got, you know, the league, the FA Cup's a priority. You know, I wouldn't even say, and I'm not sort of degrading it, but the FA Trophy wouldn't even come high up on the list. You know, the main thing we've got to do is start with the league. That's where we've got to start, and then the FA Cup's a great competition, and then after that, the others will pick and choose as we see where we are near the time. But this was a great opportunity for players who haven't kicked a ball and haven't started a game to get the confidence from starting a game.
What's the relationship like between you and Tim Ryan, who was obviously in charge on Tuesday night?
No, great. We just said to the guys, we put it out there a couple of weeks ago, said, look, there'll be some young lads playing in this competition. Naturally, they would want support for them young players to be out playing the competition and play with some senior pros. So we then, got through our games, looked at the injury list, looked at who needed games, and we gave them 4 or 5 senior boys to mix it up. So and just said, you're in charge, go and take them, and they did a great job, and everyone got loads from it. I think the young lads really, a few of them really shine out.
And looking at Chester then for Saturday, Callum McIntyre it's a bit of a strange situation because he's obviously come from their academy and it's his first managerial job, but he's doing really well in it. What are your thoughts on how he's doing so far in that role then?
Yeah, brilliant. I think when I first took my job senior, I run Cardiff's academy for 6 years, and when I took my first job senior, it was like a rabbit in the headlights. When I first took over, there's so many things to think about that are slightly different from youth football and academy football. And maybe that was at the start of the season where they were just finding their feet, and he's found a way to get his ideas across now, and it's really clicking, and the players are responding. So that's brilliant for him, brilliant for them. Not so good for us when it comes to Saturday and they're in good form.
Chester have kept a clean sheet for the last 4 consecutive matches. I'm assuming you'll be without Deeper, Aidan Marsh, obviously cup tie, so you've only really got Lionel John Lewis available. Are you at all concerned about where the goals are going to come from on Saturday?
I think you're always concerned where the goal is going to come from. I think when I first took over, we was averaging 2 a game. It was just the other end, we couldn't deal with it. Now we're trying to get the other end a bit stronger, and we've lost key players at the other end. And my job in training is to try and come up with ways and put the pressure on other players to score goals, not just Depot or Lenny. You're trying to put the pressure on, whether it's Kai Kennedy or whether it's Castro or whether it's one of the midfielders or wing backs that if we're playing that way to get into them positions to create goals, and we try and do it so that the team know who's in there. It's about getting the right bodies into the right areas, and they've got to do the rest.
Looking at team news, feels like we haven't really talked about him much recently, but Leviando, how's he progressing coming back from his long-term injury?
Yeah, he's starting to do some straight line running, but obviously when you fracture your back, it's got to be a slow process. I think he's coming up towards the 12 weeks now so I've seen him running around the pitch, but it's going to take a while, and when you've had 12 weeks where you literally can't do upper body weights, you've got to be careful because there's a fracture there. You've got to take it bit by bit, because the moment you start pushing your body, he'll end up with a hamstring or a glute, and that's the hard thing from coming back from injuries. Something else kicks in. Well, you get the first injury right, but the rest of the body starts to respond.
And is Masculia getting closer to a turn?
Again, they're trying to break the problem we've had with injuries is a lot of players have, Crooksy's got injured in, I think it was a Woking game, came back, got thrown back in, had a week, 10 days out, got thrown back in, Saturday, got injured again. Callum Harriet's trained for about 2 weeks at a time, maximum all season, and then comes back in, gets on the bench, gets injured again. And I think, the one thing the medical department have to do is make sure, and it's not just the medical department, it's the players. They have to make themselves more robust, and they have to push themselves harder to make sure that it doesn't keep happening. So, would I want these players back to choose from? Yeah. Do I want them back just because we're rushing them, because we've got injuries? No, because it's only going to result in them getting injured again.
2 new boys, Ollie Green, George Kenworthy, how have they settled in their first week?
Yeah, brilliant, great lads. Thought, like I said, George was excellent last week, really calming. Obviously he can't play, so the other thing you've got to remember with George is coming into full-time training now, so we've got he'll get stronger over the next month, so we've got to sort of put a plan in place for his training regime. Ollie's come in, and again, even in training on Tuesday, you could see he was feeling the pace of training. And I spoke to him about it, and he said, we don't train at this intensity. 23 is a lot more shape, a lot more tactical, a lot more individual development, and all of a sudden the intensity of training was, making him really gasp for breath. And it's good because he's only going to get stronger from that, from where he was Saturday, and he'll get stronger as he goes along.
Last one from me, a bit of a broad question. What is your favourite memory then of the FA Cup from either as a player or as manager?
I think I had 2 FA Cup semi-finals I got to, lost them both. 3 League Cup semi-finals, lost them all. So I think if I'm honest, as a manager, the Liverpool third round game, when it was Steven Gerrard scored both goals to beat us, but we gave them a real good run for their money, was brilliant. And the Tottenham at Wembley, when we saw the team sheet come out and Harry Kane was started, it was great. Pochettino had gone with a strong team, but we worked really hard tactically as a manager to try and come up with a way of playing them. So in training, when we played, I gave the opposition in training in the week leading up 2 extra players. So it was 13v11. And our players were like, this isn't fair, they've got 2 extra. I said, what do you think it's going to feel like playing against Liverpool and Spurs? It's going to feel like they've got 2 extra. So we did it, and the boys trained it all week, got it right. And even in the Spurs game for 62 minutes at Wembley, we absolutely nailed the game plan. It was 0-0 and they hadn't had a chance. So you kind of, that gives me satisfaction. And once Kane got half a sniff, that was it, goal when it was over. But that's what you're playing against. But I think managing against Liverpool and Spurs in the third round was probably the biggest highlight.
That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you.